Welcome back. So, we do have a couple of major releases. One, I'm very curious, well, I guess both I'm really curious about in polar opposite ways. So, let's start off with Beyonce with Cowboy Carter. So, this is following up, I believe, a Renaissance came out in 2022. So, this is a very quick follow up. And I believe this is part of a trilogy where I don't know if this is 100% correct or 100% concrete, but I believe this is a project, kind of this Renaissance kind of trilogy that kind of takes to recapture genres that may have been off to the wayside, or maybe genres that used to be popular back in its time and now it's kind of reclaiming it, or kind of putting it through the lens of a modern scope. So with this album, this is going to be a full-on country album. Now, I don't know if we're going to get 100% country on this album. If we do, I honestly will be very surprised. We may get some mixes of maybe hip hop and country, maybe a little bit of bluegrass, because I know on Lemonade there was Daddy Issues, which is an amazing track. I feel like we will get a majority amount of country, but I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of deviates a little bit more in the track list too, especially considering I believe this album is 24 tracks long. So there is a lot of content that is going to be coming with this release. But to follow up with Renaissance, so it has a critic score of an 87 and a user score of an 82. I personally really enjoyed Renaissance. I loved the dance sound that it was going for. I loved the house kind of feel that it was going for. It was fun, it was exciting, and it just kind of it was a very fun and kind of exciting album to listen to. It was very lively feeling. And I don't know really what to expect with this new country album of where the direction's going to go. Although 16 Carriages is fantastic and Texas Hold'em is a banger too. So I expect good things of this record. I don't really see Beyonce really outright disappointing us at this point. I feel like she kind of just makes music that she wants to. And while this is a daring step for Beyonce, I feel like she will have the capability of pulling it off, especially considering that she's done this in the past with Daddy Issues like I talked about there. So now we go to my favorite album probably that's dropping on Friday, and that is MGK and Trippie Redd with Genre Sad Boy. Still a terrible title. So the last two records from these two was A Love Letter to You 5, which is a critic score of a 55 and a user score of a 47. Again, I feel like the album was a little bit overhated and there was some really good tracks on there. Definitely the most quiet addition to the Love Letter to You series. And then Mainstream Sellout with a critic score of a 52 and a user score of a 16. So I was also not a very big fan of this record. I There really isn't much to say, but I just really feel like it was not a good attempt into that pop punk direction. And again, as I reiterated in my past video, which a lot of people gave me shit for, but I gave credit where credit is due, and I still think Tickets to My Downfall was a much more genuine attempt at this pop punk sound. With Mainstream Sellout, I feel like that was not the case, and I felt like, as the title says, it really just played it safe, and it really didn't really push anything. It was just a very safe album and a very gross album at that. It's just not my thing. So, what do I expect of this album? Again, to paraphrase, I'm not expecting much. I'm not expecting a great album. I'm expecting maybe something to laugh at or something to scoff at. Who knows what's going to happen with this album, but I'm definitely listening to it, which is the unfortunate part of running this YouTube channel. So now we get Blue with Out of the Blue. So this will be my first full Blue listen. I've heard a couple of features and I've heard a couple scattered tracks throughout his career, but this will be my first full dive into a Blue record. So the last album was an album called Africa with the critic score of a 72 and a user score of a 66. I do know that Blue has many critically acclaimed records. I believe he had one even just like a couple years ago. So what I'm expecting of this, honestly, I'm not really, I don't know what to expect, but I will say for a fact that the album cover is fantastic, and that this album is as good as I think it may be, because I feel like Blue kind of is in this kind of mellow, kind of rap kind of sound. If it's that sound and he pulls it off really well with that cover, I'm definitely grabbing a vinyl. So excited for that. It's probably going to be my most curious album to listen to, along with this one. So it's Gesaffelstein, I believe, or I hope I've said that name correctly, or Gesaffelstein, trying to get the real German out of me. And it is Gamma. So this will be my first full Gesaffelstein listen. Of course, there has been the features with The Weeknd, and he has worked with him multiple times. But the last album was Hyperion, was a critic score of a 50 and a user score of a 55. So I'm expecting kind of a little bit more of this moody, kind of atmospheric, darkly atmospheric kind of electronic music. Again, and honestly, Gesaffelstein hasn't dropped that much. So to have this as an album, as his only third album in his discography, I'm wondering if there's going to be features on here, or is this going to be a full-on electronic project? I'm curious about this one and the Blue album. So there is a lot of rap in this, well, depending on what happens here, but you get a good mix of everything. So go listen to some music, go enjoy whatever you enjoy on here, and we will catch you on the flip side of the aftermath, where we review all of these albums all at once. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.